speaking of quarterbacks, maybe instead of rallying around, Saints fans sure found somebody to rally against over the weekend when Aaron Rodgers was asked. It seemed like it was some kind of fan event, if he would consider coming to New Orleans to be a Saint. A fan asked him the question, and Aaron Rodgers said no, he has no interest in playing with the Saints. At this stage of his career, he doesn't want to play in Louisiana. A lot of people have thoughts about it. I have some strong thoughts about it. Sean, what were your thoughts about it?
Well, I know the fan base has some strong thoughts about it, but one thing that Saints fans hate, New Orleans people in general hate, when they're not wanted. And Aaron Rodgers said thanks, but no thanks. I was on the overtime show on this very set Tuesday night. This was my final say. My reaction is, so what? He was asked a question. He gave an answer. It was a pretty abrupt, pretty straightforward. It was an obvious answer. I understand the reaction by the Saints fan base, but the reality is simply this. You cannot turn down an offer you never actually received. And as far as everything I know, the Saints have made no inquiries or no offers or no, they have not done anything in the form of reaching out or whatever the case may be when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. So he may not want the Saints, but I truly believe the Saints did not want him either. Saints fans can, make Aaron Rodgers public enemy number one. You're probably not alone in that, but I think all in all, this is much ado about nothing. He don't want to be here. The Saints don't want him here. So everybody goes on their merry way.
A lot of strong women in my life, from my mom to my wife. They've told me several times, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. I didn't like how he said it. He came off very dismissive and very Saints? No, I don't want to play for them.
Yeah.
Well, they don't want you either. If you poll 10 Saints fans, in New Orleans, 9 of them will tell you, well, we don't want Aaron Rodgers. Why don't you want Aaron Rodgers? In my opinion, he's washed, and he has been for a long time. I mean, Aaron Rodgers was an MVP in this league, an all-time great quarterback. In the last 3 seasons, he's thrown for 300 yards one time against the Miami Dolphins. When he showed up to New York to be the quote-unquote savior of the Jets, after a lot of down years, were finally seen as a young, up-and-coming franchise with stars like Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson. You've got, on the defense, Quinnen Williams. You've got Sauce Gardner. The Jets are going somewhere. 2 years later, their coach gets fired, and they're the laughing stock of the league. Yeah. It took 2 seasons, one of which Aaron Rodgers didn't even play, for him to completely tear down the New York Jets. What changed? Aaron Rodgers changed in going to that situation. So, I don't think many Saints fans are going to be missing out on the Aaron Rodgers experience. There's a reason why we're in OTAs right now across the NFL, and Aaron Rodgers is still not on the team. So Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to come to New Orleans, doesn't want to come to Louisiana. I don't think Louisiana wants Aaron Rodgers to be here in the first place, especially since, and this is something in group messages, and we probably need 3 podcasts to debate this, but it seems like a debate that gets reignited on Twitter a whole lot. There's a lot of people saying Aaron Rodgers versus Drew Brees. Which one is better? Rodgers versus Brees. I think Drew Brees is better than Aaron Rodgers all time, me personally, but it seems like the fan bases of those 2 quarterbacks have always had a bit of a rivalry.
Yeah, so, they definitely have. Look, Aaron Rodgers in his prime was, at one point, top 1 quarterback in the NFL. Drew Brees in his prime at one point was maybe the best quarterback in the NFL, or top. There were years where he was the best, no doubt about it. I mean, 2011, he should have won MVP. Drew, I'm talking about. So there always was a little bit of a I call it a friendly rivalry, or just a rivalry there, especially amongst Packer fans and Saints fans. But ultimately, I think this connection was always more national media driven, just kind of connecting the dots, because it never really started here. Because the Saints would have had plenty of opportunities to reach out and engage interest, and the Saints have never even come up in those discussions when it comes to where Aaron Rodgers ultimately wants to go. And everyone knows where he wants to sign. He's going to be Pittsburgh as a retiring. It's that simple.
Because that's the only place that's left.
I mean, look, it ain't 2011 anymore. So, that version of Aaron Rodgers was freaking awesome. And so was Drew Brees. But guess what? They both got older, and now we're in a situation where go play for the Steelers or go retire. And the Saints, you got these 2 young guys. Maybe they'll look for a veteran a little later on. But ultimately, this is where it all stands. It was really... I think it was a fan. It was kind of a Q&A in an audience. I think it was a fan that asked it, and I mean, look, he shot it down pretty quickly and pretty convincingly. I think that tone kind of angered some of the Saints fans, but ultimately it was never going to happen anyway. So for me, it was just kind of okay. moving on.
For Pittsburgh's sake, I hope he doesn't go to Pittsburgh. They should have drafted Shador. They could have been Shadorsburg, Pennsylvania. But you know what? That's a conversation for another day. I think they should roll with Real Howard and maybe look ahead to next year's draft, like maybe the Saints will do next year. But
Yeah, but
once
that
again,
team has a lot of veterans, so I can understand why the connection is. All right.